Welcome to today's webinar on Imagine with Sunbird RC. I'm Suresh, your host for today's evening, and I'm very excited to have you all join on this journey of imagining solutions, possibilities with the registries and credential capabilities available at Sunbird. Today, let's walk through the agenda first. So today, the context of this webinar is that we're doing a series of webinars called the SunbirdTalkies. It's a bunch of voices from the ecosystem that we want to put out and share on this platform. And as part of the SunbirdTalkies series, this is one of the first webinar where we are talking about Imagine with Sunbird RC. The agenda for the day is, I will walk you through some of the capabilities to trigger imagination on how we could leverage the registry and credential in various use cases across sectors. Then we will hear from Dasun on how he has leveraged and they have leveraged in Sri Lanka to build digital public infrastructure, starting with healthcare, but spanning across sectors, and then how that has impacted people there. Then we'll hear from Parth on how he has built building blocks for lifelong learning using Sunbird RC, and then a few announcements on what to look up next in this series. I can see we have people joining from various sectors, and I'm very excited and looking forward to have you all in this journey. Some part of the sessions will also be interactive, where you could share your views on the chat, but at any point, feel free to use the Q&A tool available to share your questions. The team here will keep answering questions as and when they come. We'll also take a few questions towards the end to answer, in a more interactive Q&A manner. So, great. Let's begin this journey of Imagine with Sunbird RC with a quick recap of what we heard from Dr. Pramod Verma in the previous session. That the three pillars of any digital economy are identities, assets, and transactions. And identities are not only for people, but they are also for organizations, companies, and also for things. For example, while each one of us have a citizenship ID with us, we also have various functional IDs. Like you might be a teacher, you might be a professional, you might be a doctor, you might be working somewhere, you might be eligible for certain benefits based on some of your income status or various other things. So that all of these IDs are defined, they define you who you are, and they provide you benefits and enable you to access them. Similarly, there are IDs for organizations, like we have company taxation ID, we have various school affiliation IDs, and so on and so forth. Hospital registration IDs and all of them. So these also form the part of the identities. And finally, we have ID for things, like you could have a registry of drones which are surveying a particular agriculture land. So there'll be IDs for the drones. We already have IDs for vehicles. We all use them on daily basis. These IDs and these entities which have the IDs, identities, when they get assets, for example, individuals, when they get money, token, various certificates, various vouchers, both of these combined enable them to participate in transactions, access opportunities, get benefits. When companies get, say, carbon credit certificates, which is an asset that they have, it sort of gives them power to then avail next set of benefits. So this way, these identities and assets form the foundation for any digital economy, and they allow you to participate in transactions. Let's take a few examples. But as I take these examples, keep thinking in your context, in your world, where do you see such similarities, and how can you imagine solutions? Let's take an example of a student who has migrated from a particular city. So before we go through the workflow on the slide, let's just hear, imagine a student who has migrated from one city to the other. And they want to get their school transfer certificate done. The current process is, at least in India, is that you would have to go back to your old school, get a particular certificate from the headmaster or the school authorities, bring it back to the old school, present it. They may call back the older school, the previous school, to verify, and then that's how you sort of get your school transferred. If this particular use case, if you take it here, imagine a digital world where the identity and the credentials, so the proof that a child indeed is a child at a school, if that proof is available and the child is able to make a claim that I am indeed part of a certain school, and the school is able to attest that claim, that digital transaction could ease a lot of this whole pain of traveling to cities, spending days and hours to get certificates, standing in queue to do some of these things. And what here we are demonstrating is to power such a system, Sunbird Registry offers capabilities where you can have a hierarchy of claims and attestations, and every attestation would result in a verified credential, or a certificate, a digitally signed certificate that anyone can verify. And these verifiable credentials can be kept private to yourself, and you can share them with consent wherever you need. Or they could also be some public certificates which give you the public profile of an institute. So how do you know an institute indeed is a government approved institute or not? So such variety of use cases can be made available through Sunbird RC, the registry component of it especially, where imagine a board sets up a registry of institutes or schools which are providing education. Each of these institutes make an affiliation claim to the board, and the board is able to review, provide them a certificate, which becomes, some part of that becomes their public profile, which anybody can verify at any time that the institute indeed is a valid institute. Then the teachers who join the institute can send a claim for the experience of the time that they've spent, the time that they've taught at the institute. And these experience claims can also be then awarded as a proof of work experience, which the individuals can carry with them to unlock future opportunities. And these two, not just in education context, but in any context, are highly powerful. Like each one of us today, imagine if we had our proof of work experience in a digitally signed manner, they would reduce so much of background verification, hassle that we go through today, and ease a lot of transactions in applying new jobs, finding better opportunities, especially for blue collar workers, gray collar workers. Imagine some cab drivers, some last mile delivery agents, if they were able to easily, migrate from one platform, one aggregator to the other, with these digital proof of digital work proof experience letters, they could unlock so many opportunities for them. And then in this particular scenario, we have the third layer, which is the student claiming that they go to a certain school, they are the bona fide students of that institute, and the teacher could approve it, and it sort of gets a stamp from various layers. So this whole hierarchy, this whole pyramid and layers of attest, claim and attest flows can be enabled through Sunbird RC. And then each of these, in a very privacy preserving way, can be shared based on enable trust in the system at a very low cost. I'll pause here to give you a few seconds to note down any thoughts which are coming to your mind before I go to the next one. Right. Let's see one more scenario where say an employee who is working at a company is trying to apply for a loan, and they get various proofs of from the health department, from the income, from education, from various other departments, for the proof of income, for the proof of their health, for proof of their training and education, and whatever other proofs they need, which makes them a credible person eligible for a loan or for a certain scholarship, certain financial aid. And then all these can be shared digitally with the bank system or the prospective employer who you are applying to for a job, or a prospective funder from whom you're trying to get scholarship. And then when they go through your documents. They're easily able to verify them and award you the scholarship or the benefit that you are trying to look for. So these two were to just bring out the power of how registries and credentials are immensely powerful in creating a very high trust at a very low cost system. And today's system, which requires a lot of paper trail, background checks, verifications, can be transformed into this sort of low cost, high trust system. So in a nutshell, these trusted registries can empower various system actors and individuals through verifiable credentials. And these registries, the way Sunbird RC is constructed, it's a very low code, rapid rollout framework, which allows you to create registries of various types. And these registries can interoperate with each other if they're built on the common spec, the common framework. They inherently become the single source of truth, and we will see in the subsequent slide why we say that. But the claim and attest workflow, makes them the single source of truth because the information is always up to date and trusted. They provide discoverability out of the box, and they are live, meaning that the data is up to date. Then these essentially registries and credentials are just two sides of the same coin. Registries are more of a system view, more of the admin's view. And the credentials is what empowers the individual because they carry the credentials with them to avail and unlock benefits and opportunities that they want. These credentials are shareable, multimodal, which means they can be printed or can be digital. They can be verified in various forms, and they're privacy preserving because only the details that you wish to share with others can be shared. And then both of these together empower the individuals, the owner, with the data in their hands. Let's deep dive into each of them individually, right? So the Sunbird RC, R stands for registry. The capabilities, they're so powerful that today we have seen use cases where people have created registries of learning outcomes, where learning outcomes, if you see it from the education domain, they're just commonly owned assets of an education body. So we have registry of learning outcomes, registry of volunteers, registry of seeds in agriculture, registry of health credentials, and so on and so forth. So Sunbird RC allows you to create decentralized interoperable registries, which have configurable where you can configure whatever minimal contextual information that you need to capture for the entity present in the registry. The data is easy to update with the data ownership in the hand of the users. So users can just update the data and make a claim of the new update, which some other sort of the attestation workflow can then attest it. So you don't have to stand in queues and lines to update your details. So the details are in your hand to update. The details are trustworthy because there is a claim and attest workflow. So there is always inherent trust in the system. The entities are discoverable with control on what is the public, private, and personal information that they want to expose. All the details in the registry are easily verifiable by third-party systems, through APIs, making it easy to interoperate with existing systems. And then all of these together make registry a single source of truth, enabling reuse, improving efficiency, and reducing costs. The next half, the second side of the Sunbird RC is the credential capabilities, right? And these what Sunbird RC offers you is capabilities to generate and issue digitally verifiable credentials that enhance trustworthiness because they're inherently, sort of trustworthy credentials which you can verify at a very low cost. These credentials can be digital or printed and can be in any language. So they are multilingual, multimodal presentation. It's easy to update and revoke these credentials, making, again, them as a single source of truth or a very trustworthy source of truth. Sunbird RC offers a verifiable, like an offline verifiable SDK, and also, the online verification APIs out of the box. It leverages the W3C standard, which is a global standard adopted by various bodies. These are completely privacy preserving and authenticity verifiable because they use a digitally signed secure QR code. With the latest encryption technologies. There are open APIs to integrate with any external system or a locker or a wallet. And the schemas are highly configurable to sort of contextualize the credential for any use case. Again, both of these together make it a very high trust, low cost system. And then finally, we have the e-locker, which gives the credentials in the hand of the end user, because that's what they walk around with and then unlock various use cases. These e-lockers can carry, digitally verifiable credentials, or can also carry scanned credentials, because, so far our systems have been very paper driven, and then you might want to bring your scanned credentials into it. And these credentials can be shared with others in a very privacy preserving, consent based sharing manner. So these three together, if you see a systems view of it, this allows you a very modular registry and credentialing framework with which you can get off the ground on any of the use cases that you imagine, whether you want only the certificate issuance capabilities, or only the verification and wallet capabilities, or the registry capabilities, or all of them together. And then the system view here shows you how all three of them, the registry, VC issuance, and verification capabilities, come together to create a cohesive system, while each one of them individually, modularly, deployable. And then I've already walked through some of these use cases. I won't delve deeper into what these capabilities are. So to sum it up, the Sunbird RC provides capabilities for registry, making it a single source of truth with discovery out of the box and analytics of how it's being used. VC issuance, which can be independently deployed to issue VC and update them. So any attestation and claims plus issuance based on any external event. For example, some edtech player wanting to give certificate for a quiz that they run on their platform could be easily done, and so on. And VC verification capabilities, where verification to unlock various benefits. For example, in case of COVID, we also how our verifiable credentials allowed us to travel seamlessly, by just showing the verifiable sort of the COVID certificate at the airport or wherever we were going in the train. So verification, consent-based sharing, and digital wallet to power various transactions on top of registry and credential. With this, I now invite you to imagine possibilities with Sunbird RC. It would be great if those who, like everybody present here, could take a minute and quickly type in any thoughts at the top of your mind as to what could you imagine with this Sunbird registry, credential, and the locker framework that I presented to you. Let's take a moment. Please type in your. Would love to see what's going on your mind, and then what are you thinking moment. Right, I can see a few responses in the Q&A. While the use cases on the screen are very national large-scale use cases, but when I think of registry and credential, the use cases could be, like as I was saying, giving quiz certificates, or having our salary slips QR coded or sort of signed digitally, so that when we claim that we indeed earn such and such salary, we don't have to sort of present a 6-month bank statement to someone. Just the salary slip could be a verifiable credential in itself. Our proof of work, when we say we studied at so-and-so place, we sort of worked at such and such place, could be verifiable. Even small things like participating in a competition or completing certain tasks, say volunteering for a certain cause, could result in a credential where it says you indeed volunteered for this cause and then you spend so many hours. So such diverse and of various scale that use cases which are possible. I would leave you to imagine more and then reach out to us if you have anything. Today, Sunbird RC already is powering massive use cases. One of them in the healthcare, where 2 billion plus COVID certificates across 5 countries. are powered through Sunbird RC. And today we'll hear from Dasun later, who's joined us from Sri Lanka ICTA, as to how they are leveraging Sunbird RC in their use cases. And across industries, whether you say professional credentials, vehicle registry, land ownership, skill registry, health, and then other professional registries. So many use cases are being powered by Sunbird RC. And then we would hear a few of these diverse use cases from Parth later today, when he presents the lifelong learning use cases, which touch upon the skill and out-of-school children use cases. So with this, it brings to our closure of the first segment, which was on the Imagine with Sunbird RC, the capabilities of registry and credential. I'm now, very excited to invite Dasun Hegoda, Director and Software Architect at ICT Agency of Sri Lanka. He's been a very close collaborator and a champion for open source technologies to build digital public infrastructure, which impacts, the whole population scale initiatives in Sri Lanka. Dasun is a specialized enterprise application development with many years of industry experience in the field of IT and digital arena. After experience across various roles, he currently holds the Director and Software Architect position at Sri Lanka. He's a huge fan of technology. He marked his entrance to the professional arena with the feat of BSc in Management Information System from the University of Dublin, and he's an MSc in Enterprise Application Development from Sheffield Hallam University. My experience of working with him is he's very well organized, detail oriented, a very happy and self-started person to work with a great technical vision. And his core competencies include, software architecting, software lifecycle management, technical project management, and so on. But more on that later, because I think Dasun is more of a close friend and collaborator. So very excited to have you, Dasun, here. Over to you to share your screen and take us through the next set of slides and help us understand how you leverage Sunbird RC to build this digital public infrastructure in Sri Lanka, which has a vision to transform various sectors, starting with healthcare, and the foundational pieces of that, how they are made through Sunbird RC. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Suren. Let me share my screen. Thank you very much. I'm honored to present Sri Lanka's journey with Sunbird Stack. We have been working for more than, I think, almost 2 years now. It has been a privilege to work with the team. So I work as a director and a software architect at ICTA. So ICTA is the apex policymaking body for Sri Lanka, who drives the digital transformation of the nation. So we have a government enterprise architecture. So in that government enterprise architecture, we have laid out the entire blueprint and how we drive the digital transformation for the next few years. In that journey, we have identified a couple of important critical infrastructure that allow us to transform the nation into a digitally inclusive nation. So in that journey, I'm going to talk about 3 implementations that we have done with Sunbird Stack. So let's dive in. So first project I'm going to talk about is the Smart Vaccination Program. It is the proof of vaccination for all Sri Lankans needing to travel overseas during the pandemic time. So it consists person's identity and vaccination doses. So the entire project is powered by DIVOC. I'm glad to see DIVOC has reached 2 billion plus marks credential issuance. So DIVOC is a comprehensive platform. But in Sri Lanka, we use the certification module, 1 module out of 4 modules that offers. And we have integrated DIVOC into DHIS2 also, which is the COVID-19 immunization tracker. It is also an open source project. So this adheres to WHO standards and accepted by border control. So the certificate we issue is unique to each and every person, like Suren explained in his presentation, and it is non-replicable. So since the credentialing compliance with W3C, verifiable credentials, we can cryptographically verify each and every certificate for the authenticity. Currently, we offer the certificate in the PDF format and completely free of charge. So the process to obtain the certificate is we have a portal up and running, so they can request a certificate, and a health officer from MOH, Ministry of Health, will attend to that request. Once the request is approved, we will send out a link to download the certificate via SMS or email. So on the left, you can see a sample of the certificate. The difference here is we support trilingual. So any given government service that is offered to a citizen has to be trilingual in Sri Lanka. So you have the QR code also. So the authenticity of the certificate is verifiable through the digitally signed QR code. And this certificate can be made available in any computing device. So up to now, we have issued close to 1 million certificates. Initially, we issued about 300 to 400 certificates per day, but now we issue more than 3,000 certificates per day. We started our journey back in 2021. It was a very challenging time for us, even to the entire world due to the COVID. But we were able to quickly set up the entire infrastructure in collaboration with the DIVOC team, and we went live in July 2021. It was very agile. So thanks to DIVOC team for supporting us, and we are in close collaboration. And now we are planning to upgrade the entire stack to DIVOC 2.0. We run our entire infrastructure in Lanka Government Cloud, which is a private cloud we have for the government of Sri Lanka to offer services to citizens. So what I have seen and experienced is we can quickly scale up, scale down, and the DIVOC has been designed in a way we can quickly scale up and scale down. And it is a cloud agnostic. You can put it on a private cloud as well as a public cloud. So we have a Kubernetes cluster running. So we can, based on the load, we can quickly scale up, scale down. So the second implementation is a very interesting implementation. So before I talk about the eLocker implementation, I would like to talk about SLUDI. SLUDI is the Sri Lanka's unique digital identity. So we plan to issue a digital identity to each and every citizen in Sri Lanka by collecting their biometric and biographic data. I'm happy to say we have already completed the phase 1 and the phase 2 of the POC. So eLocker was one of the use case implementation of SLUDI. So for SLUDI, we use MOSIP. MOSIP is a digital public good, just like SunbirdTalkies stack. So eLocker, the intention was to provide access to authentic digital documents through the citizen's digital wallet. So the third party can verify the certificate or the credentials. So we plan to provide open APIs for public sector as well as private sector. So the entire journey, if I'm to explain, was what we implemented in our POC is that a citizen comes and he gets authenticated through the MOSIP stack. Then he can access through his digital credentials in eLocker. It was powered by SunbirdTalkies stack. So even in this project also, we implemented in a trilingual manner, supporting Sinhala, English, and Tamil. it was an amazing experience because on the one hand, you have MOSIP, on the other hand, you have SunbirdRC Stack. Both are digital public good meant to build digital public infrastructure. Even the integration was very seamless. So this is the conceptual architecture, what we have come up with based on our experience from POC implementation. On the bottom, you have SLUDI, which manages the digital identity lifecycle. And we have authentication API exposed to NDX. NDX is a national data exchange. It is similar to X-Road in Estonia. So it will allow us to implement the connected government scenario. So on top of that, we have the credentialing layer. So the entire credentialing layer will be powered by SunbirdRC. So we can harmonize identity and credential across multi-sector. So we are talking about education, we are talking about transport, we are talking about agriculture. All services or all sectors will be harmonized as we have shown in the diagram. Okay, so the third implementation. Now we have been talking about two implementations, which we did in the past couple of months or years. So the third implementation is a very interesting implementation. So we have a government enterprise architecture for Sri Lanka. In that government enterprise architecture, health is one of the key domains, critical domains for us. So we have already completed the digital health blueprint for the health sector. In that health blueprint, we identified three important registries. First one is the healthcare facility registry, which will contain all the facility data. And the second registry is the provider registry, which will contain the health workers information, their qualification, and the contact information. The last registry will be the patient registry. It will have patient data with their history. So we are planning to implement these three registries through SunbirdRC Stack. We are already in discussions. We have multiple discussions. The team is almost have completed gathering the requirement. First, we will implement the patient registry. Then we will replicate the success into the other two registries. So that's the plan. So the third use case is a forward-looking one. Before I conclude my presentation, I would like to say SunbirdRC Stack is not just products. It's the experience you get working with the team and the products. They are very helpful, very supportive, and the entire stack has been designed in population scale in mind. Not only that, on top of that, non-functional requirements such as security, performance, privacy, auditability, analytics, everything is built in. So those are mandatory for us to go for a population scale. So through the digital government strategy and the entire enterprise architecture for the government, we have identified a couple of critical components, like I explained to you earlier. So the Sunbird Stack will power many of our projects in Sri Lanka, and it will allow us to do the digital transformation in Sri Lanka. So I must say thank you very much, SunbirdRC team. With that, I would like to conclude my presentation. Thanks again.
Thank you, Dasan, for a brilliant presentation and too many kind words. We appreciate your enthusiasm and championship here as well. Just wanted to touch upon one or two aspects before we go to path. I remember in the conversations we were having earlier, you mentioned a bit about cost and the time to go live. If you could briefly share how sort of that worked out for you, any aspects you can share on that.
Yeah. So in terms of cost, it's no secret that Sri Lanka is going through a challenging time. So even during time, we opt to use open source products. That was in our roadmap. Anyway, from the beginning, the entire stack was free of charge. So it'll be easy for us to drive the national initiatives in a cost-effective manner. And I must say, even the smart vaccination implementation, we did it in 3 to 4 months. It's a national rollout. It was not easy. It was not just ICTA. We have to collaborate with MOH and other government departments. So it was a great initiative. I must say, so in terms of cost-wise, it is cost-effective. In terms of time, I must appreciate the agility that the platform provides us to implement national initiatives.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I really am looking forward to what great impact would be created through this initiative, which connects various sectors. And you know, I'm very excited and happy to see how you're leveraging various digital public goods to create an interoperable digital public infrastructure in Sri Lanka. Thanks again. Now we move on to Parth, who is our next speaker. Parth is a CEO of Takery Technologies, but more than that, I think Parth is a believer in open source. I have heard from years he's been dabbling with various open source technologies. He himself anchors and runs a few open source communities in India. You know, every project that he does, he gives his best. He's a very resourceful and an amazing partner to work with. So over to you, Parth.
So thank you so much, Suren. So thanks for the introduction, and it's been a pleasure to be associated with this open source project. And just to give a little more context, as far as Sunbird goes, I think I wear various hats. With Sunbird RC, I am part of the community, so I wear a community hat. But today I'm here to talk about adoption, and I'm going to talk from an adopter's perspective, where we have tried to implement some real-world projects using Sunbird RC. Specifically today, I'm going to talk about some of the solutions we have done in the area of lifelong learning. So I'd like to start with the use case where we have deployed Sunbird RC to power a program called Project Pragati by a non-profit called as Educate Girls. So this is a very interesting use case where what Educate Girls is trying to do is solve the problem where adolescent girls are not able to complete their 10th standard education, which results in them not getting good quality jobs, not being able to actually get the power of being able to finance their own needs. So the way we have tried to empower this program is by digitizing this process. So what you see on the screen right now is how this works on the ground today, where Educate Girls hires village-based preraks. So these are mentors who are responsible for working with the community and mobilizing the various pre-10th grade girls to get them registered in an open school. Post that, they are responsible for running 4-month-long learning camps in the villages, where they ensure that they are retaining the girls in the camps by mobilizing the community, the girls, and the parents. In these camps, they are taken through various learning interventions that help them prepare for ensuring that they can pass the 10th grade examinations. This goes right down to ensuring that the girls actually appear for an examination and them getting the 10th grade certification, right up to actually them getting connected to further skilling and educational and employment opportunities. So when Educate Girls approached us through Sattva Consulting, who was consulting them to see how Sunbird building blocks could be mobilized in digitizing this workflow, this was a very exciting opportunity for us because this is a program that they're looking to scale to the country level, starting today with a few districts. And this was very, very exciting. So this is how I'd like to kind of quickly walk you through what the problem statement was. So the core problem was that they needed to have an easy way where they could onboard the mentors, the preraks as they are called, validate their data via back office interface and allow easy onboarding of students, and kind of stitch the entire workflow for managing this entire program. So solution was designed using Sunbird RC, where we configured Sunbird RC to create schemas for preraks, which are mentors and the students, as well as the entire journey connecting them from prayers coming on board to the students coming on board, they're getting connected through the concept of camps and the entire workflow being digitized. In addition to Sunbird RC, we also used Sunbird ED SaaS, which is a offering by TechD, to also educate the prayers on how to run the programs. And in upcoming versions, we'll also be rolling out educational programs through Sunbird ED SaaS to the adults and girls. So I'll like to walk you through a little bit more on how this was done. So this was the kind of workflow where their entire journey starts. So this entire process starts by onboarding preraks. And it's very interesting that these preraks are actually entrepreneurs, so to say, that they are actually hired by Educate Girls to actually run these programs. So these people are mobilized through various means, and there is a self-service onboarding through a web-based mobile-friendly form. There is a back office interface where a data validation partner works to validate the data. So this is done by a Sunbird RC backend. Then the next piece is a prereq training, which actually happens not in Sunbird RC, but in Sunbird ED. This entire piece is Sunbird ED. And after that, the prereq is assigned to a camp. So the camps are again entities in Sunbird RC, where when the adults and girls are onboarded, they'll be linked to camps. So this is a classic linked registries example, where the entire workflow is being done by linking two registries through an additional registry, which is the camp entity registry, so to say. So this is just a quick view of how it all looks, because I also wanted to ensure that we show something today. So this is a web application, a mobile first web application, where a single SPA kind of an application has been given to onboard the preraks in a self-service mode. And an admin interface has been built where their data management partners can actually manage and validate the data. Obviously, some of the data is self-validated through Sunbird RC's capabilities, like the OTP register, OTP validation. Similarly, while we are not doing it right now, Aadhaar-based validation can also be done for data fields like address. So there is no claim attest workflow used as of now, right now, but in the future, for some of the workflows that we expect in this, the claim attestation workflow shall also be used. So this is one of the real world cases. So this has gone live recently, and it's been used in the field, and it will be scaled up quite a bit in the coming months. The next use case that I would like to talk about is a national scale job and skill provider registry, where we are working to create various registries which are linked registries, where what Suren talked about earlier today, where verifiable identities and verifiable assets are being linked together to accelerate the transactions that will happen. So some very good examples Suren gave earlier, like if there is a blue collar worker that there's a plumber, let's say, that needs to prove that he has done some work, or he has a certain salary, or he has a certain skill. Today, those kind of credentials don't exist. So what is being done is that a content registry is being created, which is basically powered by accredited skill providers, which would be universities, colleges, skill institutes, which are pushing content to the content registry. Similarly, there are job providers, which would be companies, training institutes that are needing jobs or giving jobs into the job registry. And an interface is being built where these registers are made discoverable to candidates, where they can actually find content, find opportunities to get trained, which would result in them getting skill credentials, which would, if they are already doing a job through the job registry, which would result in a proof of work being issued. And all of this will basically effectively create digital assets for them, which are proof of skill, proof of work, potentially, while that's not there right now, potentially, proof of salary and things like that as well, which will eventually actually create a much better opportunity for them down the road. Because today, especially in the blue collar space, this is a big problem. Even in white collar spaces, there are a lot of issues of fraud. So this should at some point solve for that. So this is another interesting use case where digital identities and assets are being combined to actually power and accelerate transactions in this space. So these are the two key cases that we have. And one thing that I would like to now kind of come to is that how was our experience doing this with Sunbird RC? So these are some of the things that we really liked. So we have been kind of onboarding teams to kind of get this running. And one of the things that when I talked to them, one thing that quickly came out was that how quickly they could set it up, how fast, you could configure the schema to get ready APIs, that it is cloud agnostic, like Dasun mentioned, and scalable. That means that you can, really deploy it without thinking. In fact, for one of the use cases, we kind of are looking at contributing something back in this area. So what we have done for these national job and skill powered registries is that we have integrated Kafka queues for all the transactions that happen in Sunbird RC, so that it can be scaled easily as a core feature. I think now even the community has kind of picked that up, and that is already coming in the upcoming versions. So going back, the other piece that was very useful through which we could actually, so that was useful for us in the Educate Girls use case, where we could actually use the ready front-end interface that is available in Sunbird RC, as well as the admin interface that is being built. We could take that and easily configure it. So hardly any time had to be spent in developing a new front end, because the front end code is extremely configurable. A lot of that could be overridden and modified a little bit to actually deploy it for the real use case. The installation documentation is pretty straightforward, which means that somebody who doesn't have a lot of background on Sunbird RC can get it running very quickly. The community is within reach. So maybe Suryan, you can also kind of maybe at the end talk about how people can get in touch with the community. So I think the Discord groups as well as the GitHub community boards have been extremely useful for us. The other piece, which is very interesting, and this is for an upcoming use case, that one of our tech leads chose Sunbird RC purely because, the inbuilt PostgreSQL and Elasticsearch integration. So there was a new use case where necessarily Sunbird RC wasn't needed. There were multiple options being evaluated, and this was one piece that it was like, let's not get into doing all that. Let's just use RC. So because of this feature, so that is another benefit that we are seeing. So a lot of these benefits are coming up as our teams are discovering more about Sunbird RC and what it can do out of the box, and newer and newer use cases are coming up. So a quick look at the wish list. So some things that, and a lot of this has also gone into the community, and hopefully some of these pieces will be picked up. So we are hoping to get some more flexibility in having fields that can be configured so that only admins can edit some fields. So for example, like a workflow field, like a status, you don't want the actual entity or user to edit that. You also need some internal fields, so to say that the main entity schema will have some fields which are not configurable or editable for the end user, but only for admins, so internal use kind of fields. And one more kind of wish list that has come up is an on-demand resync from Postgres to Elastic in case Elastic crashes for some reason, having the ability to resync. So this is for the community. We'll, of course, be posting this on the forums as well if some of these are not. But we hope some of these can make it to the core. So I think that's it for me. Just, yeah. So these are just some of the things
Great.
that are next.
Yeah, please continue.
Sorry, Suryan.
No, sorry, please continue.
Oh, yeah.
I thought...
Sorry. Yeah. So, yeah. So these are some of the things that we expect to do with Sunbird RC in the upcoming days. So one thing is that for Educate Girls, we expect Sunbird RC's key cloak to be used as auth for Sunbird ED SaaS. So there can be like a single sign-on between RC and Sunbird ED SaaS, so that the prereqs and the students can log in into respective Sunbird ED instances, and the assigned learning paths can be delivered easily to them. On the skills and jobs registry, we are building a consent-driven mechanism for sharing proofs of work or proofs of skill. There is also a beacon gateway for discovery of jobs and content being created, where, I mean, beacon is one of the things that we are exploring. Hopefully that's the way we will go, where each BPP or beacon provider platform may implement a registry with a predefined schema so that they can share jobs and content through the network to any kind of an BAP kind of an application. So yeah, that's, I'm finally done, Suryan.
No, sorry about that. I thought you were done. In fact, on the last piece of skill and job registry, the whole initiative is called Decentralized Skilling and Education Protocol. That community also, me and two more other friends, we are leading that community. So some exciting development happening there. And thank you, Parth, for a brilliant, coverage of the whole session. There are a few questions for you in the chats. Please look at them and respond. So yeah, this brings us to the end of today, and I think we're just on time. So I'll take the last 1 or 2 minutes talking about what's lined up next and what we can look forward to. Just bring up my screen. So, as you sort of heard from Parth, Sunbird RC is a digital public good, and at the same time, it's also an open source project. And open source projects, they thrive on a healthy community that is championing it, that is backing it up. So I invite each one of you on this webinar and anyone watching this webinar later on YouTube as a recording to come join the Sunbird community. Today we already have about 25-30 organizations, about 400 or 500 active contributors, adopters, and community members engaging with each other. And there are Sunbird RC is one of the many building blocks in Sunbird ecosystem. Sunbird has about total 15 building blocks. Some of them are about AI language powered. Some of them used at national scale for education and other learning initiatives and so on. So I invite you to check the Sunbird website and the building blocks and the community thereof. Many of the links to join and participate are present on the website, but I'll just highlight a few. But before we go there, let me touch upon the series of webinars which are planned, and I'm really looking forward to them myself, because there will be great roundtable discussions from policymakers, diverse set of adopters, international from various sectors, talking about how they have leveraged Sunbird building blocks, RC and other building blocks in their context. So do watch out the social media handles and the channel for the announcements. We'll also be posting few bites and snippets from this webinar on this social media channel. So do share them with in your network. And finally, the Sunbird RC community, the Sunbird Discord channel is out there. The QR code is up here. Those who have joined the webinar today, we will email you the links as well. These are also available through the website. The Sunbird RC, the website specifically for this building block, is there in the second QR code, and the Sunbird website, sunbird.org, for anyone to check out. And for any queries, engage on the discussion forums. Every building block has a very active, thriving discussion forum. And you can always write an email to info@sunbird.org. So with that, it sort of brings us to the closure, but let me just see if there are any questions out here which we can answer. I think there was one question on chat individually to me about how do open source projects like Sunbird thrive and sustain themselves? What happens to their funding and revenue? I think at least in case of Sunbird, the way we look at this open source projects and their sustainability is that there are some key adopters who are committed to the success, so sort of who gain value from the project and are committed to using the project over time. With these key adopters, there comes a bunch of contributors who are willing to make this project work, and that in turn snowballs into a thriving community. That's what we've observed. And these projects, they at Sunbird, we sort of have very well-defined architectural principles which make all the building blocks configurable, extendable, modular, highly generalized, so that they can be applied to variety of context and variety of needs. And that's what powers a diverse set of people being interested by getting value out of the building blocks. and over the time sustaining them. So yeah, that's a wrap for today. Thank you everyone for engaging. It was really great to have you all here. The recording of this will be made offline, available on YouTube. The Sunbird website and the forums are open. Thanks again. Thanks once again. Have a great evening, a great rest of the day.